the,
We should be now live on
There
YouTube.
you go. It says live on YouTube up in the corner.
Yep, you should.
Yeah.
We should be live.
I'm just looking here at the agenda. Where is Pat? Okay, there we go. I think I have that now. All right. So who's taking minutes? Okay. I'll take minutes. They will be sparse.
I can take them, Doug, if you're running.
I can do it. It's all right.
Sure.
That was pretty good. I had mute on when I volunteered.
Yeah.
Did someone say
sure.
something?
All right. So, let's see, call to order. So, call to order the October 7, 2020 Poolsville Parks Board, Parks, Streets and Recreation Board. Time is 7:05 and present are myself, Jeff McIntyre, Patrick Trainer, Preston, Terry, and Tim Pike, and Seth. I think they got everybody. Okay. So announcement, well, yeah, announcements. Next meeting is November 4. Wow, that's early.
We'll have new commissioners by then.
What's that?
We'll have new commissioners by then.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you, or,
Move it to the 11th. That's what we've done in the past.
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, they're not gonna, in theory.
Well,
we
that's
could
when
have
the
a change.
planning commission would meet.
Planning commission would meet only then?
Yeah, the planning commission meets between the two town commission meetings.
Okay. So
And
we'll keep it-
November 11th is Veterans Day, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct,
Yeah.
which means it moves to the 12th anyway. But yeah, I guess there's a couple things we may end up discussing on here at another meeting. We could do maybe like Tuesday, the 10th or something. I don't know, it's a full week, but
What if we kept it the 4th?
I mean, the commission election isn't going to impact us.
Right. We still have work to do.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
I'll
we'll leave
take
it
the
fourth.
fourth.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Very good. That's me the fourth. I'm assuming since we don't have anybody in, or Seth, do we have anybody in waiting rooms or anything?
Yes, we do, but they're both related to agenda items. We have the residents who live on Chiswell Road. And then we have those who are interested in the veterans posters. So I don't know if you want to take them under those agenda items or bring them in at public comment. It's up to you.
Okay. No, I think we'll leave them out until we get to them as new business. I think that's fine.
Sure.
Okay, then we need to approve the September 9 and September 16, September 9 meeting and the September 16 special called meeting. Did everybody get a chance to look at those at all? I got a
I
chance
have
to
not.
skim them, but not really read them.
Did we see the meeting?
I thought we saw the October meetings.
I
Yeah, I
got
don't think we've seen the September ones.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not.
Doug, I guess
Well,
just
Morgan-
you and I received it at 4:52 today. We're the only ones.
Right, that was that for October then? I thought he caught us up actually, but maybe not.
That was for September. This is October.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. All right, so that's what Morgan sent to us, right?
Correct. At least the ones from the 9th, or I don't think there are any for the 16th.
Okay,
At this point.
okay, then do we need to wait on the
We can
September 9?
postpone it. We can
What's that?
postpone it. We can postpone it, and I will forward the minutes.
Okay,
On to you all here. I got it late in the day, so.
okay. Yeah, now, with respect to the 16th, you said you don't think we have minutes for those?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, that's probably okay, isn't it? Because it was a special meeting?
I mean, we can draft up something rough from that
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay,
I'm looking to see if I have any minute notes.
If somebody has some notes and they can send them to me, any thoughts, notes, that'd be helpful.
yeah,
For the special meeting? Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right. I have something. I think I have something here.
thank you.
Do you need anything from the 9th? Because I do have my notes from the 9th.
That would,
We do have Morgan's minutes from the 9th. I guess you can compare it when you get the minutes, which I'll be sending here
That's
shortly.
fine. I found my notes from that meeting sitting here on the table still.
Okay,
I have some very quick, don't have many notes from that 16th meeting. Yeah, I got a page and a half, I think. Yeah, okay, I could put something together.
Okay,
I'll take
Thank
care of it.
okay. Postpone. And same thing with the 16 minutes, right? Postpone for now.
yes. we
Right.
definitely don't have
And I'll
it.
get those out to you.
All right, good. So that's that. So unless anybody, moving right along, I guess. So old business, nature trails and paths.
Do we want to take those folks in the waiting room first and kind of move number 2 up on old business and hear from them?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So
Can I
we'll
ask
move,
Can I ask a question before we bring them in?
yeah,
We cannot put speed bumps or humps in something that's curved, right?
Well, that
Curved
was,
road?
I think that's a appropriate statement there, Tim, is that if anything, you can look at John Strong's recommendation, which I provided you in a staff report, which was that based on the limited sight distance, which I remember Morgan having said something to that nature,
Okay,
that was a little bit of a concern, at least by the strict standards of the engineering details and specs. And then you can see also from the last meeting, the cost of doing some amount of sidewalk work there or sidewalk and curb. Both options are laid out, but you know, and I know they're listening, but you know, their option would be understanding that the cost is pretty expensive, that if something else could be done, but then we run into the engineering technical standards that we'd have to think about and consider.
I guess what would be, I mean, before, again, like you said, before we pull them in, what would be the alternatives? I mean, I think curb and gutter is too expensive. Speed hump doesn't meet the criteria and might be oddly used or oddly, you know, you put one with a curve in there, it could be weird.
Well, it sort of limits then what the functional element is. And again, you know, when you look at it coming to cost for a minute, if you had the amount of money sitting in an account to fix this, would this be the place you'd do it anyway, right? Because there's
Right.
Bottomer and a couple other places, right?
Yeah.
And I think what we're struggling with here is a sympathetic understanding of their concern, but how do we meet that? Do we decide to install them, understanding that there's not, you know, enough sight distance? Do we put advanced notice versus what we typically do? Or do we just say, you know, based on the narrowness of the road, people do park on it, it's curved, you know, I think that's the discussion points, right? That have to be had on this topic.
I was driving home from my office in Rockville today on, I think it was Evelyn Road. And it was a shorter road than Chiswell and it had curves in it and they had 2 speed humps in it.
Mhm.
So I don't know what their rules are, what our rules are.
Well, and again, there's the strict standards, and then there is recognition that, you know, is it
Neither.
ideal to deviate from recommended standards? No, it's not. Is it absolutely unsafe? Maybe not, but or maybe it is.
Okay.
But those are something I think the board has to consider.
Okay, thank you.
You ready for Michelle Hobart? All right, she's coming in. Hi, Michelle.
Connecting to audio.
Just a minute.
There we
Hi
go.
there.
There you
Hey,
go.
Michelle.
Sorry, do you have my audio this time?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me make sure I close down the other one so there's no feedback. Thank you. I was actually listening in. Now that I know the drill to listen in on YouTube before coming out of the waiting room, that was helpful to hear your thoughts. So I guess I'll hear it live. Suggestions, feedback, outcome of the engineer, and what the town thinks is possible.
Sure. Well, as you just heard, listening that, per the technical standards that engineers and traffic engineers in particular go by, usually you need a sight distance to be able to see the oncoming speed hump and have the driver at least have some ability awareness that they're coming up to one, and as they approach, slow down and do what speed bumps do, right? This distance doesn't meet that because of the curvilinear nature of the road. We've discussed some of that previously, and the nature of
Can
the
I
road.
pause there?
Sure.
Do we have the actual?
Go
I
ahead.
get the summary, but I want to kind of, so I don't lose track. Do we have the actual measurements? What are the diameters or the distance that is recommended? And what is the actual distance that's on Chiswell?
I don't have John's specifics on that. I mean, that's something we could. I see what you're saying. What's the deviation of difference? How far off are we? I think that's a reasonable question. We could look into that a little deeper. I mean, if it's modest, I think I can see where you're going with this point, but
I would like to hear what those numbers are. So I'd appreciate that. Yes. And I'd also like some clarification, understanding that it's stated that there's a risk, a safety risk for a curvature in the road with a speed hump. Who is that safety risk to, and what exactly is that safety risk? Because I'm looking at it from a pedestrian standpoint. And if a car hits a speed hump at a higher speed because they didn't see it coming, their car is damaged. A car hits a pedestrian because they're going too fast down a road because they're not being forced to slow down, that's a hospital visit or a death. So I'm kind of not measuring them equally. So I'd like to know what is considered the safety risk for a speed hump on a curvature road.
I think it's just, I don't disagree with the argument. I'm just saying it's a standard that they have. I mean.
I just want to understand where their standard comes from,
Sure.
what drives it, what defines it.
Correct. Understand. And those are things we can ask John. The deviation of difference and then, the safety element.
And just to chime in a little, it makes sense. I mean, or the whole thing where you were saying you need to slow down for a speed hump, aren't these speed humps that we have designed for 25 miles an hour anyway?
Correct.
Which
yeah.
is what the
On-
speed limit
yeah.
is. So we really shouldn't need a, area for them to slow down, since they should be doing 25 anyway.
I
If
don't
you're hearing
disagree.
the
I guess
speed
I'm just kind of
limit,
seeing, I guess with Michelle, yes, I'm seeing your issue right there and
Mhm.
agreeing with it.
Go ahead.
no, I was saying thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
And John set a table of the FHA guidelines. He cites Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, and Pasadena, but what about Maryland? Aren't we in Maryland? They must have something written. Can we look into that?
Well, I
Seth?
don't, sure, absolutely. Well, and on first glance, what I'm going to say is, regardless of location, these are federal standards. So I don't know if these are ones that were visually friendly made from those communities. Because I mean, a lot of this stuff is just typically in technical manuals that
Mhm.
isn't very picture oriented. I don't know if they created them, just for user friendly in that regard. But I mean, we can get that information. I mean, as I said to begin with, there is the technical standard, and then there is, the element that, do you have to always meet the technical definition?
And then, do you know who would have the overruling guidelines? If you're saying, Dr. Pike feels that there's a road that has curvature and speed humps, is that a state road or county road? Is Chiswell a state road, county road, town road? Like where's the jurisdiction of it?
It's a
Town
town
road.
road.
Okay.
It's a
The
town road.
bottom line is it would be the
According to
commissioner's
what John
decision.
Strong said, spacing needs to be anywhere between 260 and 500 feet.
Well, that's on that page he sent us. It's on the, under vehicle speed, proper
Yeah.
placement, ITI
That's
guidelines.
the IT guidelines, and he says some jurisdictions have refined them.
Right.
But the guideline is 260 to 500. So
Within 200 feet of a small radius curve or stop sign.
Yeah.
With a significant downgrade or at top of a hill. So that's kind of left her interpretation, isn't it?
I would think.
Yeah. I think we should pursue it.
And do we know the cost of a speed hump installation?
We're talking about maybe 3,000 or 4,000.
It's not as
It's
expensive. as-
significantly less than the sidewalk approach.
Sidewalks and
Yeah.
gutters are $368,000 roughly,
Yeah.
which
And I appreciate the board offering that as an option, but I absolutely recognize the cost factor here. And my personal opinion is truly that once there's a speed hump on that road, it is a deterrent to those that use it as a cut through. That's where a lot of our traffic comes from, the ones that don't want to slow down for the speed hump. If you just help mitigate, no matter where you go, you need to slow down to the proper speed, it should help.
So are we just talking about one speed hump here or two or?
I believe Morgan had mentioned that they're usually done in pairs, although given the length of the road and the spacing and trying to stick with the guidelines, it may just be one. And I think that's still okay. Personal opinion.
Right. Yeah, on
And
the
he's
more,
probably right. I mean,
more
section-
straightaway section.
which section are we talking about? The section between Hoskinson and Westerly?
That's correct.
Okay. The top.
That's
okay,
the longer area,
Right.
or the longer road.
Well, the other end is just, as a cul-
Seth, do we know how long that road is there? Has anyone measured it?
No, I've not gone down there. Preston, do you have an approximate thought what you think it might be?
Well, it's broken into two roads basically because there's a cut through. I would say no more. I'd give it a half mile maybe, believe it or not.
So Westerly to Hoskinson's a half mile?
Close to it, I bet.
Just looking at the scale on the map, it's probably somewhere between, it's probably right around 1,500 feet. I
I'm
think.
just thinking
Tell
theoretically,
you in a
you
minute.
could be far enough away from the curve, still be mindful of the spacing from the curvature, from the stop sign, giving a line of sight and
Mhm.
Yeah, depending on whether or
All
not.
right, if
we
I
do-
use Google Maps and do the, I'm sorry, if I use Google Maps and do the distance measurement thing, it's 1,251 feet
Wow.
from
Not bad, Pat.
Westerly to Hoskinson.
Yeah, Wesley, that's about Wesley to Hoskinson. So that's half the road. About right, quarter
Right.
mile.
All right, let me see that. See if I can find that road in Rockville I was on today.
So I think we probably just need John to come up with a proposal, right? To see what it
Yeah.
would look like.
Maybe what we do is try and how close can we get to the technical specs, knowing we're not going to meet it, and
Right.
provide some advance notice. I mean, as I said earlier, maybe we just install signs a little earlier and notice. And that may help anyway, because they're not sure. If you can't physically see it, you may be slowing up well in advance than you typically otherwise would.
Well, I'm looking at a map now. Evelyn Drive in Rockville. It looks like it's shorter than Criswell, and they have two speed humps on a curve there. Less than 200 feet. I drive it almost every day, a couple times a week. So
Yeah.
send John over to look at it.
It's up to the
That
board.
was it, Tim, that was in Gaithersburg, you said?
That was in Rockville. It just intersects right at Montrose Road. Evelyn, Evelyn Drive. I'm sorry. Right
Right.
at Montrose.
Doug, do
It's
we
a cut
need
through,
a,
basically.
do we need a recommendation to have John come up with the proposal? I mean, wouldn't we need to see that before we can make a recommendation to the commissioners first?
Yeah, we need to see that. Because right now it's, right now it's very broad review discussion. We're beginning to narrow it down. We need to know what happens if we start narrowing it down. I mean, does it do what we need it to do? Or does it do what we were hoping or needing to do? We're not putting a sidewalk in there. We're gonna put, if we put a speed hump. One of the things thought crossed my mind, I'd like to see John, see if he could find a way to address it. If we're putting a speed hump on a curve, that's gonna, I believe that means by nature, the speed hump is gonna have a curve to itself. And I don't know what that means to vehicles going up and down or snow plows and things like that. It's an ancillary issue. It's not the primary driver, but it created at least a question in my mind of what happens. We gonna dig a corner of the snowplow in every time we go by there, or is that gonna be an issue? Do we need to put the advance notice earlier for the regular driver, and the town truck can use that earlier start as well, et cetera?
I do believe there's a far enough that I don't envision the speed hump has to be on the curve. I think there is enough of a straightaway between the stop sign and the curve that you would have line of sight and you wouldn't have to go over it on a curve with a snowplow.
Right. What I'm looking at now, if I look at the page that John included, so the section between Bodmer and what is that? Is that Hoskinson?
Goes
Hoskinson.
Bodmer, Westerly,
Yeah, Westerly.
Hoskinson.
So that's got the little Z in it. I see little, in my mind, I see little value in putting a speed hump
We're not,
there.
we're not talking about that segment. We're talking about the segment between Westerly and Hoskinson.
Right, okay, I
It's the
agree.
northern portion.
Right, and there, yes, you can have at least one section that's straight.
Yep.
Put in, and maybe another one if you need it, and you think, but that's too awfully close, but you could do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you look at the
Let's let
straightaway
John dig into
section
this.
there, I'm looking at the satellite view now. I mean, that straightaway section, looks like there's multiple places where you could put it where it wouldn't even affect the driveways of the homes.
Right. You can do it before the turns,
Mm-hmm.
one closer to Hoskinson, one closer to Westerly, or in that straightaway section. So
Yep,
Yeah, I'm thinking one in the middle.
well, or just one in the middle. Yeah, that's why I think.
yeah,
Why don't we
John-
just get John? He was on vacation this week anyway. So we can come back November 4th, get all the information you're back, and we can clarify this and what works best.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
How's that sound, Michelle?
Any questions?
I appreciate that very much.
thanks, Michelle.
It'd be helpful
Thank
to see it, and that way I can ask more pointed questions and not have you repeat. So I apologize that not having that data makes you repeat a lot of things. So I will look forward to November 4th with some more metrics.
Yes, the information, John, that's correct. Yep, absolutely.
Great, I
And then-
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
John will also have John would also probably have some proposed, locations as well, whether it's a single
Yeah,
or whether it's two.
yeah. You will.
Great, that would be wonderful. And I absolutely defer to the town and John and engineering on what they feel is best. I'm not looking for any specific number, any specific location. I think just in general, a speed hump will help us.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right.
Great. Thank you, I
Very good.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, so,
Doug, the other folks waiting in the room are under new business, under veterans posters. Do we want to bring them up since they're in the waiting room?
hang on a second here.
But I will just discuss one thing before we get there.
Okay,
One of the things, and you can see what I have in my staff report, and I just had a little bit more thought after it, is that one of the things that keeps coming up in the town, and I guess I need to address and work with the commission, the town commission, and Jay Gullo, our attorney, on is, what messages we approve in town and which ones we don't, and what do we support and what do we don't support, right? In terms of what criteria do we say yes and what criteria do we say no to signage and posters and the like, right? And that's come up a little bit earlier this year in terms of what we should do or not do in terms of these sort of things. Moving forward, I believe the town commission is going to have to figure that out because there's been some questions about what should and should not be. And very much to this point is when we say yes to a benign request, what happens when we are presented with a challenging request from organizations that may not represent Poolsville, and how do we move forward on those and,
Right.
and do we even act on those? You know, I don't know what we'll do with this one. You know, it gets recommended to the town commission. In some ways, when we start talking about messaging, we may,
Oops, sorry.
the town commission will have to decide how they want to handle that. But I say that, you know, as we on at least one message, I guess many other people behind could request certain things too. So I think we have to weigh these
I mean,
decisions.
give me an example, Seth.
Sure. I mean, let me, you know, speak less in loose hyperboles, but the question always comes is what happens if, you know, this seems fairly innocuous, I guess, but the question becomes what happens if the Sons of Confederacy want to come up and put up, you know, posters of fallen soldiers? What if, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement wants to come up and put up pictures of folks? Now, there's clearly a discussion about these appear to be local folks here, right? Keeping it local versus not local. But those are really the discussions that are happening of what messages are we sending out to the town, and it really is when do you say yes and when do you say no, right? Because what's okay for one group that feels comfortable with, it may not feel good to another group. And I think we all know in the middle what we feel comfortable approving. But when you get to the fray, if you will, if you want to even call it fray, when you get to where people start have a lot more polarized feelings, maybe that's the most appropriate way, where people's feelings, you know, people feel polarized a little bit, then you really have to make a judgment call of if we're allowing these type of signs, why not those type of signs?
Well, from my knowledge, the only signs that were up there similar to this were the Poolsville High School graduates.
Correct.
And so, you know, I think this is a local veteran recognition. It seems like it's town oriented, not, there's no political, you know, statement here. It's just hey, thank you for serving our country. I think the criteria would be pretty easy for the commissioners to make decisions on that. You know, that'll be their purview, not ours.
Well,
what was that, Tim?
if you open it up to one group, you already did the seniors, which was great. Now the veterans, what if another group comes along that you don't agree with, Pat? Is that right or wrong? Or, I mean,
Doesn't
I'm
matter
just saying.
whether I
Anyway,
agree with it or
no,
not.
no,
It's called a free country, and it's called freedom of speech.
exactly.
And
But
so-
wait, what if it, I agree with you.
So we
say-
silence speech because we don't agree with it, or because we're afraid we're not going to agree with it.
Okay.
I mean, that's just.
True.
But again, I think we can establish criteria to Seth's point. It's a local. This is local recognition, just like the high school was local recognition.
Oh no, I'm all for this group. But what about the next group that comes along that
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
we don't agree with, or someone doesn't agree with?
Again, I don't
We-
think
we-
we can.
we
I don't think we
actually-
can. I don't think it can be. I don't think the criteria can have anything to do with whether or not we agree with it.
Don't we have something in the bylaws about our parks? We can't post something or whatever, or
Yeah, I thought there was something too,
Yeah.
because a number of years ago, we dealt with the Sons of the Confederacy or whatever.
Mhm.
And they were gonna put, remember behind the Lutheran, the old Lutheran church? They were gonna put up a memorial of some sort, if I remember right.
Yes.
It never went through. But that exited the Parks Board as a recommendation with acknowledgement, the fact that you know, it is also a freedom of speech kind of thing. And it went to the commissioners, and if I recall, they approved it as well. I'm not 100% sure about that. It may have lost its momentum by the time it got to the commissioners. They may not have had to address it. I just don't remember.
To be honest, if somebody is going to go to the, I'm just thinking if somebody's going to rent or not even rent, if they're going to reserve our parks, are we going to, can we have criteria that says no, such and such a group, you're such and such a group, you can't? Like Pat was saying, I don't think we can.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little, it's not that cut and dry because other communities have struggled with this and have had to deal with some of these things. And it sort of Pat touched upon it, is you create a definition. I mean, and I've sort of stated it as well, but you kind of create definitions or criteria by which you might not. I mean, just because you're a public entity does not mean you automatically have to provide that platform. You know,
Yep.
You can say yes to everything, you can say no to everything, or you can provide definitions. But I mean, to your point, Jeff, is it does become a little challenging when you start providing definitions and framework to this, because you do have to provide some limits, because really as a community, you don't want to become the place that is one of two things. You know, you don't want to become a lightning rod in general within your own community, but you also don't want to be the place where it's known that if you want to take a message and get it out by using a public format or a publicly visible place, that is where you can go to, right? I'm not indicating that that's going to happen, but these things do happen.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, a simple set of criteria could help us navigate and put some road guardrails up as to what we can allow and what we can't allow.
And there goes your freedom of speech then.
Well, and again, I don't want to get
Yeah.
too deep in this topic, but I will say that there's not I mean, you still have your own private property to which you can do something on. Not every public property is there and designed for your platform, you know.
What I was saying before is we can establish criteria, but it can't be based upon whether we agree with something or not.
That's correct.
It'd be like
Yeah.
we're honoring local veterans in this example, or we're honoring our senior class from Poolsville High School, local. Like we can set up some sort of criteria that we can go by, or that provide some guardrails as to what we want.
Patrick, you realize people complained about the senior program that we did?
Jeez.
No,
Unbelievable.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either.
Yep, they said it was very insensitive to have all those white kids during a time of Black Life Matters.
Well, you know, you can take anything and make an issue out of it, I guess,
It's not
right?
those kids' faults what the
Well,
color skin is. So I mean, it was all the seniors, and so it wasn't excluded
It was
anybody.
just, you can't win.
But there's people, exactly. There's people that are going to be upset no matter what you do. So I think we just have to do what we think is, right for the community, and that's all you can do. And if people
I love
complain,
the
people-
idea of
people
the
complain.
hometown heroes though.
Yeah.
So do we want to review this and let these folks in, and we can,
Yeah, why don't we bring them in? They can
or should we continue this discussion, Doug?
And
Yeah, no, we can definitely bring them in, and, yeah.
Jeff, did you have
Hey,
something?
Seth, before you pull them in, can I make a quick comment?
Sure.
Hey, so how many years ago was it that can anybody remember when we edited our parks rules and regs? It wasn't that many years ago, was
Last
it?
year.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, at least
No, it was
3 or
last
4
year.
years, but yeah.
Last year, I thought.
It was last year.
So I guess my point,
Really?
so I went on the Poolsville website, and the effective date of the regs that are out there is March of 2010. So just an
Yeah,
FYI.
those are
that's
wrong.
probably
There is, yep, there
Yeah,
are.
did the
We made
commissioners ever
changes.
approve it?
You did about within the last 18 months, update some park regs and rules.
Yeah.
have to take a look at those latest ones as well. But I mean, obviously, I don't think this type of thing, I don't.
Didn't address anything like this.
Yeah.
Correct, exactly.
Oh, no, I just wanted to point that out before we got into the other discussion. It's something, I didn't want to slip my mind.
Sure. And just so you know that these posters would look very much like those that the high school seniors had done, if you're just thinking of an example.
Yeah, they sent examples in.
Is you ready?
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey, Annette.
how are
This is-
you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I'm
Okay.
Seth Var, town manager. You're before the board of Parks and Rec. They provide a recommendation to the town commission on these matters, and that recommendation would then be forwarded to the town commission to provide final approval. But if you'd like to explain your project a little detail, you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my audio and turn this up some because that was.
So in the lower right-hand corner, well, wherever your audio is on your computer, that may help. You can use that adjuster. And if not, on your Zoom, do you see where there's a little microphone in the lower left-hand corner?
Yes.
There should be a little bar.
Yeah,
There should be a little carrot-like thing, a little up arrow. If you click that up arrow, you can go to audio settings and then turn up your volume input from there as well.
Yeah, that's not working. I turned it up earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim Pike. Hold on a second. Let me.
I didn't do anything.
It's really faint. I can hardly hear you. So can you
Good
help
thing.
me turn this volume up real quick on this,
Do you have
please?
do you have actual speakers or are they built into the computer?
We
Built
can hear
into the
you.
computer, it's a laptop.
Okay.
How do I turn up the volume? Oh, you're so wonderful. Thank
I
you.
recognize that big arm.
Yeah,
Going back to my hole.
yeah. Julian had to leave, so he's not gonna be here. So, what is it that,
Just briefly describe what you're doing, maybe the number of posters you're looking to put up, when you'll put them up, when you'll take them down. Are these all local people, things of that nature?
yes, so, I am the post adjutant for, 247 American Legion here in Poolsville. And we have 70 members, all relatively local to Poolsville. Most of them live in the town limits, a few in Darnestown, some in Boyd's, Barnesville area. And what we wanted to do is acknowledge our service. Some have retired, like I have. Others have just served, whether 2, 4 years. And do you have the examples of the posters?
Yes, I provide them to them in an electronic format.
Okay, great. So what we did is we, realistically, we wanted to hang them on the telephone poles like they do in like Pennsylvania and smaller communities in the state of Maryland. We realized we're against numerous obstacles, essentially when COVID hit and then, trying to negotiate to, have them put up permanently. So what we thought of is, honestly, when I saw the presentation for the Poolsville High School seniors, a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, we can do that. The one caveat to that is we would like to have them higher than at ground level. Julian is looking at getting something called a 6-foot U-post metal piece. So we'd be raised off the ground like 4 to 5 feet. So we wouldn't be on the ground. We're requesting that the posters go up like a Sunday to Sunday, the week of Veterans Day. If that's not possible, we can certainly, change the time frame. We just thought that, a week is would be nice to recognize the veterans in town. Additionally, we would like to do this annually during Veterans Day. We will do a presentation on the 11th at 11:11 on November 11th for Veterans Day, which is an annual event.
When you say a presentation, what do you mean?
We just go in and, to be honest, I am new to the post. I've retired in 2005, but I just joined last November, December timeframe after Poolsville Day. And it's a brief 5 to 10 minute. I believe they just play the anthem and do some military type.
Flag raising.
Tim?
Flag raising also.
Yeah, okay, so quite like I said, I'm relatively new to the post and they put me in a leadership position.
Okay.
One of the things that have to be considered is the amount of people congregating. If the town commission, would approve the congregating, I mean, usually there's sort of another permit process for it.
Oh, I don't think, quite honest, there's only 8 or 9 of us.
Okay,
From
all right.
what he was saying last year,
Hmm.
and we weren't even coming to Parks and Planning to ask for that. I think Julian assumes that there's not a problem with us just showing up.
I
That,
don't know if the town policy has historically been in. If that's it, then that's fine, but just, I wasn't sure since you're putting the posters up, if you expected something greater and a bigger turnout.
oh, no. The only thing I will tell you that Julian did say is that last year when they were doing whatever presentation amongst ourselves, cars were zipping by and they could not hear what they were saying. My husband is a Montgomery County police officer, so we are just going to have him sit a cruiser there. Tim, don't laugh. Just to have people slow down because people go zipping past that area.
Yep.
So, and from what Julian was telling me, it's like a 5 to 10 minute presentation. And then we go up to Bassett's, is where we typically go, and have a little luncheon thing on Veterans Day. But the posters, again, would be up. We would, put them up ourselves, take them down. Right now, we have 10 photos that have been submitted. 22 people tonight have said that they will partake in this because we have given them suspense dates based on the fact of tonight's meeting, the meeting on the 19th with the commissioners, and then we have to get to the sign company that we're working with to get things completed timely so we can get them up, at least a few days before Veterans Day. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, I think some of the posters that he's presented to you were done, they're really nice looking. We opted to go with photos of us in uniform. And for some folks, that was 20, 30, 40 years ago, where some jurisdictions that do these posters and signs use a recent, but we've kind of surveyed amongst ourselves and decided we wanted something in uniform.
So these will be up for about a week or so?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Veterans Day is a Wednesday.
Sure.
Here, so I thought Sunday to Sunday. And if the
Yeah.
weather's bad, we'll take them down.
I like the idea. I like it. I like the idea.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion, Tim.
What kind of motion? Let's see. Help me out here. Make a motion. We make a recommendation to the commissioners to allow the veterans to put up posters under Annette Howard's guidance.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
With your hand. There you go. Any abstentions? Any nays? Motion carries. So this will be forwarded to the commissioners. I believe that your group will need to formally file or formally complete and file a permit to use the park. But that, since we've already approved what you're using it for, I think you're fine there. That's just a matter of paperwork.
And do we just come up to, is that something I can get online to the town site, or ask Maggie for?
You can definitely ask Maggie for it. I believe it's on the town website, but Maggie will definitely have it.
Okay, so do we get the permit after the commissioners meeting on the 19th, or should we put in for it now?
I'd put in for it now. There's no reason to delay.
Okay. Is there a fee, or is that going to be self-explanatory?
Let me think for a moment. Is that, no, there's an hour. Well,
I'm gonna have to, I'll take a look. But Nat, you can email me and I'll take a look, see what that fee is.
yeah.
I mean, you'll be surprised, because I was shocked with some of the folks that I found out that have served, and there's many more that just don't say anything. And so we kind of like, we're booming here with veterans in Poolsville. Yeah, seriously, there's a lot of folks.
Well, good. I'm glad you either got appointed or volunteered for your position here.
Yeah, my husband wasn't too thrilled. I spend a lot of time, but that's okay. I'm retired, so it's all good. It is good. So
I look
Okay.
forward to seeing it all.
okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. I appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annette.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Annette.
Okay, certainly. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. I guess we can get on to the back to order, right, Doug?
Yeah, quick question here though. And I don't know if we ever contemplated this. If they are using our park, I guess it's the athletic fields that we're charging for, right? Are we not also charging for Wayland?
Well, I mean, I would probably rely on Preston historical usage of Wayland. I don't think we've typically rented out Wayland in the past, but most of those fees are associated with actual athletic activities
Right.
as well. And then, of course, we obviously recently implemented the pavilion fees, but I'm not sure unless somebody was really using a chunk of the park.
Did
for
the
some-
commissioners approve the pavilion fee?
Yeah, they approved it. 4-1.
And I think that didn't the veterans group donate those flagpoles to the town when we built
Ooh.
Wayland Commons?
I don't know. That's a good, I don't know.
But that's Kurt Behrens. He was on the committee. I believe they donated those poles.
Right.
Anything?
Chris, do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
I think Steve Robillard's group did that back then. They donated those flagpoles. I'm just saying
Yeah,
they were instrumental in that. Those
right,
flagpoles.
right.
Yeah.
I'll try and get maybe I can get a hold of Robillard.
Okay.
Actually, I should something. We have banners to go all the way around that park.
Yep.
We could have had her made those signs. We could have hung them off the poles. Didn't even think about that.
I
Well,
think
she
that
hasn't submitted them for manufacture yet.
Yeah, it'd be pretty late because this request didn't come in that long ago, and so I think
Maybe next year she could do that, Preston.
I'll talk to her later on about that.
Okay. Change it up.
Yeah, well, she said she had not, I thought, submitted them for, to the
Printer.
vendor yet.
He hasn't because
Yeah.
she's waiting on approvals, and I think we just heard about this maybe a week and a half ago at most. So is when they brought it up to us.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying she may still be able to make use of those poles that Preston's talking about.
Mm-hmm. We have to take, I guess, down our banners.
Because we're right in, Seth, I'm just saying we have the fall ones. And right in November, we change over to the winter ones. So we could use that as a transition.
We could definitely. It could
Just
be
depends on the number of folks that they have.
Well, we can do
Versus-
up to 12. Just saying.
so. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think that I don't know. We'll see what they come back with for now and in the future. I guess in my mind, having them on the ground or more or less in a group in a localized area within Wayland kind of is more impressive to me visually than it is on the telephone poles. That's all. That's just my opinion.
Well, you made a motion, you've got all second, right? Passed.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, who made it? Who made the Tim,
Tim
right?
made it, Pat second. Tim made it, Pat seconded.
Yeah, okay, got it. Thanks. All right. Yeah, I guess we're ready for the next thing, Seth.
Sure. I don't think there's too much to discuss on the nature trails paths. At this point, I mean, my recommendation was essentially, here's a number of things we came out of the meeting on the 16th with,
Right.
and I provided in there. I guess what I'll have to do is get with John Strong and just kind of look more at a couple of these things, clearly this project is well beyond the scope of where those young gentlemen are at. This in terms of both aggressiveness, scheduling, time frame, their expectations, right?
Right.
This is really a longer term implementation plan over several years, honestly, if anything, through different ways that it could be done or parts of it done, or maybe only a small portion on one end for, let's say, by the beaver pond to create kind of a boardwalk out to that area, possibly. But we'll clearly have to deal with a couple floodplain related issues from there in terms of that, any element regarding stormwater management. And then we would have to address issues related to, the path itself, any bridges that might potentially be needed, long-term budgeting those into a CIP if this, is desired and gets favorable votes. The whole property boundary discussion element. I've spoke with my staff. None of them recall a project where the town had built a fence along a trail and pathway. That's what I was told by my staff. And then, of course, some other discussion. So basically, it's a summary of what happened on the 16th, where we need to go from there. And basically, it's appropriate to at least postpone this to the next meeting till we get some more information and we can actually have a reasonable
Use.
discussion on. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Can I make can I make a couple
Sure.
comments real quick?
Yep.
On that, I was reading that the document you sent out. It says we're talking with a floodplain. We're actually dealing with a designated federally protected national wetland. And it's not just the area around the pond.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between a floodplain and a protected wetland as to what kind of permits and such that we're going to have to get. So, the area up by the pond is not the only area. The Horsepen Branch is also considered a wetland, and that's another place where we're going to be building a bridge. I wanted to mention that because, I talked with Tom Kettler this afternoon because the area between, Brightwell and Reserve and Brightwell and the Tama and the woods of Tama, that wetland is designated the same as what is around the pond. And Tom said he had to go through the county, the state, and the Army Corps of Engineers with all that, with the bridges that he had done. So I just want to make sure that we're not designating this as a floodplain issue. This is a, designated wetland, protected wetland. And then I guess another section, when we're talking about the property boundaries and fencing, I guess in our previous conversations that I brought up, it was, and I completely agree, sure, we may not have fences along trails, but we do, and we have installed fencing along the boundaries of our parks.
True, we have.
The issue just tabled right now? Is that?
Yeah, we're just tabling right now for further information. Yep. That's all.
I guess my bottom line point is that there's a lot more bullets that I want to add to this list. Same things we discussed on that Wednesday night.
Yeah,
but but the general thing, at least that we need to say it's a wetland and not a floodplain.
Yeah.
I as before, I thought it was way too much for them to bite off.
Yeah,
You know, I think they have I like the ambition. I like the idea.
It's well beyond their scope.
It's stable. It is what it is.
Yep.
How does that work though, when we've made a recommendation, we can undo that?
We did.
That's what they did at the 16th. Rescinded
Yeah,
that.
they're only gonna do section 1 or 2, right? Which one
Yeah.
is it?
No,
Yeah, we're gonna
segment
check
2 was
tomorrow.
goes to the
Yeah.
John Field Middle School.
it was,
Was
Yeah.
that a vote? Was that a vote? I was, because I wasn't at the 16th.
Sure.
meeting.
So what happened is the Board of Parks and Rec on the 16th rescinded the vote from the 9th and stated that, there was more concerns about that segment 1 that runs
Got it. I got, okay.
through there. They rescinded that and then voted to only recommend segment 2 forward.
Right to that. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So tables that.
let's see,
That just leads us to number 2.
there, hold on.
Can we, when we finish number 2, can we talk about an item that probably should have been on the agenda, the open position on the Parks Board? Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah,
advertised for that.
I haven't advertised for it yet. So, I mean,
So
it's
we
a
have somebody who's-
responsibility, but
So if we have somebody who's interested,
What do they need to do?
yeah, are they,
they need to submit a letter of interest, everything from a sentence that says, I'm interested, to anything more that's describes why they're interested, or a resume or some other letter. I mean, I'm
right,
not asking for people to submit a resume, but some people do. But a single line will not suffice if somebody else has provided a lot of information.
Who do they
Right.
submit that to?
They can submit it to myself or the town hall email. So townhall@poolsvillemd.gov.
who makes the initial review of those?
It's the town commission.
Okay,
The town commission appointment. So I take all those to the town commission. They do an interview appointment process for this position.
that's what I recall. Just want to make sure nothing changed. It's been a little while.
All the same still.
Right? You good, Pat?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thanks for clarifying that. Good.
You're welcome.
okay, so that brings us to town commission agreement regarding streets.
Sir, you have this as the last item in your packet.
Yep.
This is what they agreed to and provided to you regarding the discussion regarding streets, which we had around since August. And so I think it's everything that you all conceptually agreed to, at least Doug and Jeff representing the board, and probably is pretty much what you saw and defined your rules as anyway. And this is what they sent back to you as a clarification of those rules.
Doesn't look like there's any change. It's the way it's always been.
Yeah,
Just a clarification from them to you.
yeah, no, it's fine, it's
Well,
good.
well-
I mean, because,
Why was the clarification needed? What brought that up?
I understand there's some just discussion about the road process, the road cycles, those sort of things.
We've never gotten involved in that.
As I recall, someone just wanted to know what was on the schedule. That was all. I mean, who tipped off the commissioners that wanted it more?
You have a
Road.
commissioner who sits on the board, by the way, just so we're not lost in that.
No, I know that.
I
But
forgot that.
there's never once have we ever had any say in any of the engineering ever.
Yeah.
Ever. So I'm just curious as to why we needed clarification on this.
And is that?
That's
yeah,
my question. And why did it even come up?
Yeah, I guess we're still live on YouTube. Pat.
Yeah,
I know.
that's a public.
That's why I'm asking the question.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah, we're live still. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah, so
Um,
why did it come up?
Because
my
there was a question about what the role of the
Who
park.
brought the question up?
It was discussed to me by another member of the Parks and Rec Board, and we kind of discussed this a little bit, and that's where
So
we
the
ended.
commissioner from the Parks and Rec Board brought it up?
It wasn't me. Jeff,
Wasn't
was it
me.
you? Doug, was it you?
no.
Wasn't
it
me.
wasn't me.
Terry? Pat? Okay.
Yeah, so I just don't
um,
understand why we needed any sort of clarification to begin with. We've never, ever said,
Well,
done
then-
anything about engineering. Matter of fact, the speed bump is a great example. We've always asked the town engineer to handle that.
Well,
I just don't understand why we need clarification.
I don't know. This is what's provided to you.
Cool.
So, okay.
That's enough for me.
So,
I mean, there's nothing here, just information, I guess.
I was gonna say, I don't believe there's anything to
Yeah.
vote on
Was
because,
there something that they wanted to take out of our purview?
Nope, nothing changed.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
but what I'm saying is, during the discussion, was there something that they thought should come out of the Parks Board?
no, they actually had a very healthy discussion about the balance between what you do and what you provide and the benefit to that to be able to keep them informed and also keep some things off their plate, such as, the parade and race permits, things of that nature, inventory. But I mean, it was pretty clear that sidewalks and trails, even though they're in the road right away, it really came down to what's happening from curb to curb discussion and their role versus your role as a town commission, looking and reviewing paving cycles and the engineering standards and the wear and tear and those sort of things. So that's just how the discussion came through and about.
Got it.
Yeah, at
I
one
just- I
point,
just find
Pat,
it
it was that
curious
they
that
were
we had
just,
to even
they were gonna
have this
take out the
clarification.
streets.
The naming of the streets? Is
I guess Pat,
that what that is? The naming, or they wanted to take streets completely away from the Parks Board?
yeah,
That
at
was-
one point, they
yeah.
were talking about taking streets completely out.
yes, that's right.
The commissioners were?
Yeah.
So that was something they discussed.
Yes.
They realized quickly that was not necessarily maybe the desired path they wanted to go down.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Didn't mean to belabor that. I just kind of curious. I saw it and I was like, why is this even a discussion topic? This has never even been an issue in the past. I was curious as to how it came up and who was behind it.
Okay.
All right,
So
Okay,
let's see.
superintendent, I guess.
Yep, I think, Preston, you're up, right?
We are starting to get into our fall program, getting a few things set up and moving along. We did get the ball field mound installed at Stevens. Terry's not here, but everybody seems pretty happy. Well,
I'm
what that
here.
was,
I'm
what's
here.
that?
I'm here. Great job.
We don't have a video of you, Terry. You're just Terry 3. You're
Yes,
just in
I
a
know.
gray box.
So anyways, that was one of those neat projects that I've never done before. And one of the local contractors loaned me a laser leveler, and we did a little research, and it worked out pretty good though. I think people are pretty happy with that. We just finished running the conduit today at Wayland. So our electrician, he'll be able to pull wires over to the new charging stations. I believe we should probably have the people who own the charging stations finally tie in. We're bringing it over. It's called a flower pot. So we're bringing the power within 2 foot of each machine, and they need to. I don't know how they're going to work that out. Those people have been a little different. Seth, you've dealt with them now a little bit, but I'm hoping within the week or two we'll actually have our part 100% done with the wires in place. We also added some decorations at Wayland today for Halloween, some lit decorations like we do at Christmas time. Hopefully the people, it's just something cheery in town, and I hope it will be well received
They look nice.
this evening, and we'll get some feedback on that. We've started our fall tree removal, and then getting ready for planting at the end of October, November time period. Early this summertime, Seth actually hustled up, I think, with 30 trees, Seth.
Yeah.
He ended up getting up for us, so that should help with cost. And we're going to try to diversify our trees along the road. We've always had like a monoculture per road. Well, what happens when you have one single tree, once a disease starts, losing the whole bank of trees. So we're hopefully moving into different direction where we'll still have shade trees, but there'll be different types of shade trees. So because you look at Spates Hill, last year we removed 100 ash trees from the town, and they were all in banks on certain roads. So due to Seth, like I said, found that, and then I think we're right about replacing 40 to 60 trees this year. The drought, people don't realize we did have a mini drought, which really hurt some of the trees that were planted in the last 2 to 3 years. So we had to go back and take it. And our soils, as you all know, living here, our trees are stressed anytime we go to a drought on that. And so anyways,
You did the best job you could. You did the best job you could doing watering and putting up bags. and
yeah.
additional-
Yeah, and Seth, he was pretty good about letting me purchase. We had to purchase a bunch of bags, and we had to shift gear because it was just unusual year. We didn't have the personnel that we normally have. So at one point during the peak of the drought, we were trying to water twice a week, but that was a day and a half of taking 3-man crew, and that's how many trees we had. And we did. What's interesting, they've actually recovered. So we saved some. So I'm in a kind of a holding pattern. Do I cut some down, or let's see what happens in the springtime? Because I think we did save some that looked really badly stressed. So that's going to be an ongoing thing. Now they're talking about putting the veterans pictures up, which is great, but that's right around the time period that we start. Believe it or not, we're only about a month off to start getting prepping for our Christmas decorations. We still are planning to go full forward with the lighting end of it. I don't know if we'll have any ceremonies, but the town will be lit like normal, which I think people will love. They can get out, do their own spacing and everything, but that's right around the corner too. So, literally we got a few fall things, and next thing you know, because it takes about 2.5 weeks now to get everything up and ready for our December. Normally, I think it's the first week of December, we try to get the lights on. And actually, we try to get everything in place before the Thanksgiving weekend. But anyways, so we have a busy fall coming up. I did have some great summer help this year. The ones that I did have, they worked tough. They were very good for me. And actually our November meeting in December, we start talking about budgeting for the next cycle. And Seth's going to have his hands filled with what's coming his way. The state's not giving us a whole lot of money. And so it might be another thin summer. I understand the monies and stuff like that. So, but I can ask and we'll see what happens. But if anyways, everybody kind of thinks about a project or two that, we see on the horizon. We just got to start getting everything together coming up on there. So
And lighting that Preston spoke of, obviously, as he mentioned, we'll have the lights up that we always put in town. Usually there's a lighting event. We won't have the event side of that, but we will still do in town the lighting contest. So that is still on the lighting contest. So, obviously we're still doing the scarecrow element too. So it's not been much on events, which has been unfortunate because obviously the town prides itself on that. But these couple things that are quote unquote more socially distanced safe, we've been able to do. So hopefully next year provides us a different reprieve, because I can tell you Kathy is certainly looking forward to that.
So I'm good to go, and we'll keep going.
Preston, I noticed tonight the chain blocking the path from Tama 1 to Tama, Woods of Tama
Yes.
was broken off. Was that on purpose or a vandal?
No, we took it down at the request of some people who were a lot of the double strollers, and people
Yep.
there were so many people out using the park system that they were having trouble getting the bikes through. You know how we had it. So unfortunately, we haven't had, I don't believe, the ATVs and the motorcycles we've had in the past. And so we've, yes, sir.
Is that a legal path of ours, or do we have the right of way there? Or there was some issues about that 10, 15 years ago. That's why the chain went up.
Well, here we go.
We should look into that.
We have the legal right of way, but there was a
Right.
handshake agreement that the town's not even supposed to drive the mowers or any motorized vehicles down in there.
Yep.
And years ago, the lady who was involved in it, I was taking my mowers across one time. She stopped us. And I said, man, for the safety, she goes, I don't care if your men die, they are not coming down the road. So we've never pushed the issue with that. And I still don't know who gave her permission. I just know because that's what Wade and Eddie Coleman, those guys were like, this is the agreement we had, but there's no written agreement.
Should we look into that then as a town? I mean, it's gonna take a while to get that, but
Well, now we actually have Brightwell and we mow that outside anyway, so we have to go over there anyway. So there's no benefit for us to use the motorized part of it.
but you don't mow the grass from that.
They do,
lady-
they take care of it. They mow it.
Yeah, because, okay, but you can't
They
get
don't like it.
down.
Like I said, they don't like our mowers down in there.
I know,
even
I
though
know,
It's
I
all
know.
right away.
I know their story too. I know. It's kind of sad. I don't think it's a legal path. If it's a handshake,
What path are we talking about?
No, the handshake was not to use motorized equipment on it. The path, I think, was put in with the development and may have made some bounds for connection purposes.
right.
What
But
path?
the- But the handshake was no motorized vehicles at all, none. No town staff, no,
Well, we don't own that path though.
I think it is ours.
It's
Right.
ours.
away.
Wade,
Path.
Wade told me going from Tama 1 to the Woods of Tama.
We definitely own that path.
Wade told me 3 years ago, we do not own that path. And he did not want to go down that road of getting legally. There's a whole history there, Pat, about that
You
path.
talking about the one that runs next to the farm?
Yes, yes.
Mhm. We should look into that. I hope I'm wrong. According to Tom Kettler,
Tom Kettler probably knows.
I know, and according to Tom Kettler, it's not legal.
Well, then how did he get the permits to build the bridge?
That's town property over there.
So just the path from the bridge to Dr. Walling?
There are two, Dr. Walling, Dr. Walling? Yeah, I know. There are two
Yes,
homes
yes.
there. There are two homes there. You have to go down the path and then it becomes town property after that. I think we should look into it, Seth,
Huh.
to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, understandable. We can.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Hey, Tim, which one are you talking about? From McKernan down to Dr.
No,
Wong?
the other end, Kevin's side. What's that? I forget the street. Selby? Is that Selby or Dr. Walling? Maybe. I don't
Dr.
know.
Walling.
Dr. Walling.
Dr. Wall, yeah,
From
no,
there-
I just pulled up the county map. That's why I'm trying to figure out, you can
Yeah.
click on it and it'll tell you who owns what.
Is it the one that goes from McKernan to
Nope.
Dr. Wallen?
Yes,
Yeah, but the other side, yeah,
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, the side near Dr. Walling.
yeah.
He's talking about the south side of the bridge.
That's
There you
correct.
go.
Yep,
There you go.
absolutely. And Jeff, you'll see what I'm seeing. It's running in the backyards of some property, and it's a question of whether we received an easement or not.
That's it. The
Yeah, no, if I actually click on the white line, which I believe is the trail, that says it belongs to Poolsville. Or no, actually, no, this one here says Pearson Theodore Charles.
That's
Premise
correct.
City,
There's two
yeah, no,
property
that's-
owners.
Right, he's the new owner. Mrs. Kearse owned the property, but she's since passed. I'm good friends with Brian. And she was really upset. See, I know the whole family story about that.
Well,
point.
anyway, we can look into it, see if there's an easement. and-
Oh, so there was a handshake to go ahead and put the path through, but you couldn't put any vehicles on it.
Depends who you talk to about the path going through with the handshake.
Yeah, if you look at the county's map, there isn't a right of way there. That's all just personal property, but the trail goes through.
And then this lady in back of
Interesting.
there, she will not let anyone back there practically mowing. I know, Preston, you can't go back there. I think we should look
Flynn,
into it.
is
The
that the
town
last
should.
name?
To Flynn,
Yeah, Flynn is the one who lives in the back
correct.
and
that big
Pearson
pipe
is the one who
thing.
lives on the front.
Right, two researchers at NIH. Very nice family. We could probably get an easement from them, and we have to work on Flynn, I bet.
But yeah, looking at the county map, I don't, it doesn't show it for either.
Yeah. Some homework for you, Seth.
Yep, I mean, just have legal look and see if there's an easement,
Okay.
which is
Try to
different.
bring that up, but I thought about it for the last 20 years when I walk by there every day.
That's good memory.
Speaking of some things,
Hey, Tim, how's my beaver dam doing? Is it fixed yet or is it?
They have not been back in 3 weeks. It's nice.
Right.
They're not back. Someone went in there and threw a bomb in there, I think, or something.
Good.
So
Nice.
speaking of some parks and rec related things, just if your friends and others make note of this, we did shut off the aerators. I've already received a couple complaints.
Mm-hmm.
But just as you know, this cooler weather, the dissolved oxygen in the water is higher when it's cooler. So the fish are not in no threat. The duckweed that they complain about and call algae is not so thick as to be multiple layer thick, and the fish can't get through it. So there's no issue there. And duckweed actually takes nitrogen, phosphorus out of the water, which is not always beneficial for all aquatic life. So at this point, there's no issue. And being that it's turning cooler, as you all know, because you're all more or less naturalists yourself, is that the rate at which the duckweed will spread is going to be reduced or almost nearly eliminated. So it's an annual story, I understand, here in Poolesville, but you know, it always comes up. I don't think we've got anything more.
Well, that's it, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, Tim, that's interesting. I'm clicking all around this map. It shows
Yeah.
where the town of Poolesville Commissioner's property is, but nothing between that little section you're talking about.
Doug,
Yeah.
would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we
Do we
adjourn.
have, do we have any notes? Do we have any notes or any information from the previous commissioners meeting since Carrie's not here?
Oh, it's a good idea. Yes. By the way, can we get that added back into the agenda?
What's that?
Can
Yeah,
we get the
I
commissioners
agree.
report added back into the agenda?
Sure. We
That's
can-
something.
I think it's because she hasn't been there.
She
And
was there last time, but it just hasn't been on the agenda like the last 3 months. And I keep bringing it up, but I'm
hey,
just,
this Terry. Oh,
I'm just curious, like, can we get that back on
No,
there?
definitely. I mean, we definitely,
Yeah.
it may have been the template I used a long time ago that just didn't have it on there, and
Yeah, I mean, I've always just asked. I'm just curious, like,
there's no.
it's all
yeah,
good. Just,
Let me take a look at their, our agenda that we
was
just,
anybody at the commissioners meeting that can give us an update?
well, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying-
Oh, okay, good.
well, while you're looking, Seth, now that since we're probably going to have one new commissioner, maybe 3 new ones, can we get another commissioner rotate on our board like we've done in the past? Every couple of years, they rotate in and out.
That's one of the things they do at their November 16th meeting is
Okay.
the appointments to boards and commissions.
And
Okay.
I would also like to say, like, I had brought it up before, but if there is people within the same household, should they be on the same board?
I don't
Frankly,
know.
I think we should have some sort of a, I don't know what you call
Because
it.
I mean, it
Goes
can
in
cause
our
a conflict of
bylaws.
interest because
Goes
you
in-
basically have 2 votes right
It goes in
there.
That we put something in the bylaws that says you cannot have a family member, two or more family members cannot serve on the same whatever.
Yeah, and
fill in the blank.
I mean, not, you know, maybe a different level, but they just did that with the Board of Elections. Stump and his wife are both on the Board of Elections as well. So that may be another one of those policy things that they,
I think we've got to, isn't that a conflict of interest? Board of Elections doesn't really have do they vote?
Well, I give you before,
But if you have two
Yeah.
voting members in one household, that's
no,
not.
you're 100% right. Now,
It could be the same.
I
vote.
did
Yeah,
ask
I
the
get you, Pat.
question. I asked Jay the question one or 2 years ago here, I guess, whenever it became that way. And I said, isn't there a conflict of interest in that regard? And he said, no. He said, because this is the answer he gave me, if I recall correctly. He said, because we are an advisory body only, we would make recommendations, we don't control anything, so to speak.
All right.
Now,
Well, I
you know,
mean,
We actually do have a line item though in the budget now.
we do now, which is true, which was not the case at the point in time that I asked him, and the point in time where we got ourselves structured the way we were indicated to be.
So I guess Judy and Helen and won't be on the board, huh?
I'll happily give my seat up to my wife if she'd like to go. She's probably way better at it than I am anyway.
No, you're a good
Yeah,
part of this
The only
board.
two things discussed at the town commission meeting of significance that, gained any discussion or traction or vote out of them was, first was, as you know, in the agricultural reserve, there's a lot of discussion about the solar fields and the community solar systems. They all voted that they would each write their own individual letter if they so desired, and send it in to the county council for review and consideration. They decided not to send a group letter on this issue. They figured they can all represent themselves under town letterhead. And then the other thing was the budget closeout for the FY 20 year, just closing out that budget. So it was a fairly light agenda as their agendas go. That was pretty.
So, Seth, let me just add one of the things with respect to the solar and all that. There was obviously some discussion about the whole issue, but there was also a discussion about the fact that that the town, and this is probably what led it from the town to the individuals making their own letters, did not, we Poolesville were not asked to weigh in on the situation.
That's correct. It was not asked.
So it caught wind as purpose of, discussion here, there, and everywhere. But I thought it was very interesting that the commissioners, the town, have to sometimes walk a very narrow tightrope to kind of keep people happy and hopefully kind of keep them pointed for the most part in our direction. Well, that struck me as interesting, something that I hadn't seen for quite a while, actually. And I think the comment was also made that the cases of whether we should have a solar farm there or not are being discussed with these other groups that are directly involved and entitled to be involved. And that they probably at this point can make the case better than we would, because again, we're not being asked to comment. We would have been jumping into the fray if we want to.
I mean, that was a discussion, is that there are other entities and organizations that have been following this extensively and already had policy positions on it.
So that's all I have.
Okay.
I think we were at Tim has proposed and Pat has seconded an adjournment. Any?
I made a motion, Doug.
Oh, I thought, okay, well, it's reverse. So you made the motion, Tim?
I made the motion, I think Jeff seconded.
Okay.
Or Tim did.
Oh, Tim did,
Yeah,
sorry.
Tim, I think it was. That's what okay. Anyway, two of us made it. Any additional comments, concerns?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Nope. We are out of here at 8:28.
Good night,
Yeah.
guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.